second.
Wow. All right, that's showtime, folks. I believe we're here. Shall we hit the jingle?
Why not?
Or do you want to just hem and haw for a second first?
Let's
Bob and Zip Show with Ed Kelly.
Okay, we're still getting it together, but it's much more together. Look at Ed Kelly's studio. I mean, that is incredible. Hey, webmaster, we have the wrong background. It says it's got boob behind Ed Kelly. But that's okay.
There it is. You see the Beatles looking down at it.
He'll pick a different background. Okay, welcome to this edition of the Bob and Zip Show with Ed Kelly. We're just getting started. We're going to have Spike join us in just a little bit. We also, tonight, will have a special segment with a longtime friend of the show and lawyer, Shawn Alexander, who helps people, and yet he's a lawyer. I don't know how it happened. He's just one of those great, good lawyers that you meet, you know, like meeting a good politician. It's just like, what are you doing telling the truth?
That's an oxymoron, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I've liked many lawyers when I needed them real bad, and they were good.
Yeah. Everybody hates lawyers until they need one.
Shawn is one of those people who comes up with positive solutions, win-win solutions for people. Unless, of course, they don't want to be positive, then win, you lose solutions, which is, of course, important. Okay, so we're just getting started. Let's see if we've got any text comments yet. Yeah, a few people are joining us. You can text us anytime, and we're on both Facebook and YouTube. Also, to let you know, these shows will be archived, and the audio will be fed out just like our audio podcasts are always fed out. And all right.
Is that for evidentiary purposes?
Ask the lawyer.
Or for entertainment purposes only?
Well, the funny thing about today's world is everything, all you're doing is creating a trail. All of us, billions of people creating this. It used to be, you know, if you paid someone under the table, if you ran a red light, any mistakes of not entirely following the rules that you would do.
Call your friends at the Vatican.
There wouldn't be a permanent record of it. Remember in high school, the principal, the biggest threat they could give you is they'd put it on your permanent record?
Yes. Oh, that was bad news. When they said the permanent record, I broke out in sweat.
Well, now,
that's going on your permanent record, young man.
Aren't we literally creating a permanent record of just about every thought we have?
Yeah. And they can go back and get you for it if you ever apply for a job or run for office or anything else, including these shows and every F-bomb that we've ever dropped.
Yeah. I'm at the point where I'm hoping not to ever need a job again. Yeah. You two, I feel bad for, and Spike
You
too.
don't want to vote for Bob Rivers. Listen to his filthy mouth on this podcast.
You could do the opposition research on me. That's good. Come up with do me some more election negative advertising. I like that. Can you do more?
Let me think. Zip fell. Look at those glasses. Come on. He got those on a trade deal for endorsing on a radio station. Under the table dirt is what they call that. Don't vote for Zip.
That's good. Although, yeah, usually the political commercials are so much more evil.
Oh,
he took $6 million from his friends to build a big complex, and he'd spent your tax money, and he stole it from you. You know.
Then he bought a cigarette boat.
I'm actually a little nostalgic for political advertising when you put it that way.
Okay, keeping a lot of radio stations afloat right now.
Yeah. So it is Christmas week. It's been an exciting week for me because all of the Twisted Christmas songs are getting played all over the world.
All over the country and the world.
Yes. And thank you, John. Merry Christmas to you. And so today I got to do something that was surprisingly thrilling.
Do tell.
Well, back in the 80s, when Zip and I started making Twisted Christmas tunes, it was really surprising how quickly they caught fire. I mean, they went viral. They were everywhere.
Because they were clever.
And not a lot of competition, but they were good. They were really good, especially Zip's drumming. It's the best drumming.
Gonna say you got a musician, it sure helps.
What's up against a MIDI machine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love those songs. They're very funny, but who is that drummer?
Meanwhile, the guy putting the MIDI machine in claps on 1 and 3.
So what started happening is that big radio shows all across the country started playing these songs.
Yes.
Only if they were huge radio shows, like Scott Shannon in New York or
Scott
Rick
Shannon.
Dees in Los Angeles.
92 degrees. Here comes Bob Rivers.
That's a great impression. Or I Miss in the Morning.
No. So Bob Rivers and his crew of morons, basically. They've got some kind of Zip. Who the hell would go with a radio name like Zip? It sounds like he's pulling his Johnson out on the air, for God's sake. Bernard! Can I have some coffee that's hot for Jesus God?
Anyway.
So all these people would play the songs, but the really big famous ones would appropriate them. So Scott Shannon would say, and now here's the Scott Shannon Morning Singers with the 12 Pains of Christmas.
Drew Lane did the same thing in Detroit.
Did he do the same thing?
Yes, he never gave you credit one time that I ever heard.
Rick Dees, who's like Disco Duck. I mean, he had his own #1 record. He would do the same thing. He would go, the Rick Dees chorus, and he would, whatever he made up. And it didn't bother me. I was like, they're playing them. It's great. So today, I got a call from WABC in New York.
New York, wow.
Radio 770. Used to be 77. It used to be the biggest top 40 station in the world.
Yes, big time.
But in recent years, it was the home of the biggest right-wing conservative talk radio host, a guy named Rush Limbaugh. And do you remember his producer's name?
I don't.
Bo Snerdley.
Won't
Real
you
name.
Come home, Bo Snerdley. Won't you come home?
Anyway, Bo, I'm going to bring on Spike in just a little bit because we do dueling Rush Limbaughs again. But Bo Snerdley invited me on today, and he had never realized all those years Rush Limbaugh would play all of the Twisted tunes. The first one he played is one that Zip plays drums on, by the way.
Yeah.
Teddy the Red-Nosed Senator.
Yeah.
Have you
Yes.
ever heard Teddy the Red-Nosed Senator?
Yes,
Okay.
I have.
Had a very shiny car, and if you ever saw it, you were probably near a bar.
Would you Chappaquid it?
All right, but let's bring Spike on in a second as soon as his camera is ready. Okay. So, are you ready, Spike? Okay. In more recent years, like when I say recent, I mean the last 20 years, Rush Limbaugh would play "Walking Around in Women's Underwear" as his favorite song. And Bo Snerdley brought me on today. Bo is the afternoon host at WABC now in Rush Limbaugh's old slot. Wow. And he brought me on today to talk about his favorite Twisted tune of all time. And I know, Spike, this is like going to be a softball to Spike. And he was so nice. And we had a great conversation, by the way, about the Twisted Christmas. He was so kind. And then he said, I'm going to play my favorite. Oh, Spike, you're not ready yet. All right, I'm going to remove Spike until he's ready.
He doesn't have a golden microphone like I do, Bob.
And Rush used to play Walk Around in Women's Underwear, and it was his favorite song in the world. And Bo told me that today.
This is the Limbaugh Orchestra players, the moron fishing tackle choir, as I call them, and walking around in women's underwear, which is something I do at home, by the way.
I was tempted to say to Bo, when he was saying, I'm about to play my favorite song, and I was tempted to say, your slip is showing.
You know,
But
our morning man used to fill in for Rush when he went on vacation. Yeah.
All right, let's see. Do we have Spike? We don't have Spike yet. No, that was Shawn getting ready. Okay, so Spike can't be here for this story.
That was Spike, wasn't it?
Now that's Shawn.
was-
Shawn's going to be joining us in just a little bit.
Looked like
Oh,
Spike.
there's Spike. All right, hang on. You there, Spikester?
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a little delay on you, but that's all right.
Same as last week.
Okay.
Well, he's been latent for years. He just hasn't come out with it.
Thus the women's underwear song. Come on.
That's right. And which I have to, every time I say it now, I have to give Spike credit, because I think the majority of the lyrics were yours, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I stopped remembering. I really did. It's Bob, Spike, and Joe. We wrote everything together, especially on that one too. Terry Gangstead threw words at that one, and
We all
Rockfish
did.
might have thrown. Yeah, it really was a think tank.
But actually, I still remember being impressed about how much you were into cross-dressing in this song. I mean, you were
The office. There's a guy named Melvin.
Yes.
Pretends that I am Murphy Brown. That just rolled off the tongue like it was autobiographical. Yeah. I think auto-pornographical is how they call that.
I
Yeah.
like it. See, that's a new one.
So I didn't get into any politics at all, but right after I was on with Bo Snerdley, you heard that part, right? Right after I was on with him, he brought on Rand Paul, who was doing a 12. He was doing a night before Christmas about the horrible spending bill, the omnibus spending bill about giving money away and all of that. And I thought, well, Jesus, Jesus would be okay with giving stuff to the poor. But
Iron Rand Paul.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Jesus was so woke. Oh,
so
Jesus is just so woke with me. Jesus is just so woke. Oh, yeah.
Jesus, he's a libtard.
okay, so it was a thrill, and what has been going on all week as these songs are played everywhere is I keep remembering with gratitude how blessed I specifically, but all of us were, to be surrounded by such inspiration and talent. The biggest one right here is Spike. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. You're
Is
kind.
Spike's attitude gratitude? Does he think that publishing is coming his way whenever he hears one of those songs all over the world and the money comes pouring in from Atlantic? I mean, where is my share is what Spike is probably thinking, I'm guessing, right, Spike?
I stopped walking to the mailbox looking for checks a long time ago.
Walk into the mailbox for a check. Later
Well,
on.
It's funny. They call that, and some of you may know this phrase, they call that mailbox money. And we do get some every year. And this is, actually, it's funny you would bring it up.
Oh, drum roll.
Oh, watch
please.
the butt crack. Yeah, the plumber.
I know,
this is-
seriously.
This is seriously the best part for me. Let's see, who's that going to? Roger Treese, who did those amazing arrangements. Let's see if there's one for Spike. Brian Silva, he did a lot of good stuff.
Wow. Boy, it's like memory. It's a trip down resting home lane right now.
Oh, look who we send this one to. Oh, I don't want to leave the address up there.
Yeah,
But look
Oh,
who we-
yeah, no, thanks, boss.
Sorry.
Jeez, can we tile that out?
Yeah.
Well, but I just want to see who we send that to, the O'Neill family, because it's really going to Melissa.
Yeah. And the girls. Yeah.
Yeah. You'll probably never even know the envelope came. And then there's, I'm not going to put everybody's address up. But no, there was just, and Zip was listening to these the other night with me because we do a Christmas special every year where we play them. And we brought in orchestras. We brought in string sections. We brought in horn sections. Who was that guy who did the Frank Sinatra stuff? Oh, shoot, what was his name?
He did the Vegas thing. He did right. Didn't he do the Vegas Lounge Act record he made?
Yeah, and he was so good.
Yeah.
And then we also had this a cappella group that was like the best a cappella group in the whole world. Do you remember their name?
No.
So here I am the other day.
I'm blaming COVID. I'm blaming long COVID.
Okay. But here I am
does.
thinking, I need to send Christmas cards to all these people because this stuff is still being played all these years later. And I just feel what a blessing it was that everyone sort of walked in at the right times. I mean, seriously, it was just incredible work.
Well, hats off to you too, Bob. You had the ability and foresight to kind of facilitate.
Hats off?
That all.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Yeah.
You
Side
really
me for
did. That's
literal
a
figure.
gift.
Yes, I knew how to exploit opportunities and people.
Well,
Yeah.
I was trying to be nice.
That's a
Exploit
great
it.
idea.
You know, we were so blessed to have so much talent and so many people willing to take part in, because you were literally the Tom Sawyer thing. Help me paint this fence.
Yeah.
You made it so much fun to do these things, and your reputation was so stellar for the work that you had put out. So whenever somebody wanted to take part in this, they knew just tying their horse to your train there was going to be a good idea for them too.
Right.
You know,
Well-
what I've been doing lately is I've been trying to find things that we shouldn't play anymore
Yeah.
and play them.
And play those.
Seriously,
Yeah.
last night I played "Hark the Hair-Lipped Angels Sing."
Oh,
Wait a minute.
no,
You played
Oh
that?
yes,
No.
yeah, I
No.
did.
Are you?
No,
are
no,
you
no,
just a-
no.
I'll tell you why.
Why?
I said, well, Bill Maher had a piece. I forget, it was sometime this season about presentism, and
Okay.
it's the disease he calls presentism. It's where we judge people of the past by the standards we have today.
Oh.
Sure.
And I said, so here's the thing. These days, I would be far too woke to say but
But you
but
just
in the 80s, it was fine. I play Police Stop My Car, and have to point out to people that Jose Feliciano was indeed Hispanic, so that voice is okay. And in the song, they're not stopping the guy because he's a possible illegal immigrant looking for his papers. They're stopping him because he's a drunk driver, and that happens to everybody. So I get a chance to really.
All right. So you use this to talk about political correctness and wokeness.
He was profiled.
Yeah, he was. Weren't we all? But women's underwear is something can you play that? I'm like, you bet your ass I'm gonna play. Absolutely. I love telling the story, and I think we've told it here once already too. Remember when Harry Shearer came in? He and his wife Judith were touring.
Mm-hmm.
Harry Shearer and his wife Judith do a Christmas show, and they tour and they do a live, stage show, much like Steve and Edie Gourmet in that vein. And before we even started the interview, to plug him, he said, "Look, I got to tell you, Bob, I know you'll remember this." He said, "I was at Don Henley's Christmas party, and when you're at Don Henley's Christmas party, singing Christmas carols is a big freaking deal, right?
Sure.
Because everybody wants to sip up and play and sing a Christmas carol." Harry Shearer's like, "I'm playing piano and I start singing, walking around in women's underwear, and half the room joined in because they knew the words."
Of course.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm like, oh, I can
Did
die
that-
and go to heaven.
Did that
too.
chart, Bob?
And by the way, the check doesn't reflect how popular that song really is, just so you know.
Yeah.
Way to
The
take
check
the
is-
wind out of the sails.
Yeah, I know. The check is useful for going out to dinner, that sort of thing. It's very nice. Yeah.
I call it chipmunk money.
Yes. But it's still. It is. It is still something that 40 years later, or 30 or 20, that they're still out there, and we appreciate it. Let's say hi to some listeners. Look at everyone that wants to say hi. We're just gonna. I haven't been looking at these. I actually left
The Coats. Thank
the
you.
Coats.
The Coats.
The Coats was the band. The Coats.
Martin, thank you. Yes.
Martin. And don't tell them I couldn't remember. The Coats, by the way, was an a cappella group. They're one of them. There's actually two different a cappella groups.
But Spike.
The Coats was an a cappella group that was originally called the Trench Coats.
Remember, and then after Columbine, they had to change their name,
Yeah.
right? Isn't that what it was?
That's right.
That's understandable.
Oh.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
taking back trench coats. I'm gonna go out in the street with nothing but a trench coat and some rubber boots, and I'm gonna take back trench coats.
And by the way, that's crazy wokeness. Yes.
Can you put a shock collar on, Spike?
Choke collar. That's
Believe
great.
it or not, I tried everything just short of that over the years.
Shock collar, not choke collar. He'd like that.
I saw,
He pays
I
good
saw,
money for that.
I saw a guy on a bus with a mask on and had a ball gag go on the mask. It was awesome. I'm
Now
like,
that's funny.
for the win, for the COVID win.
All right. This guy was just listening to a Twisted Tune when he saw that we were doing the live thing. So for those of you who are watching now, just so you know, We haven't got the thing in place yet where we could send everyone on our mailing list advance notice of when we're going on. So it's still in sort of the beta phase. But by the new year, if you register on the website bobrivers.com, you'll get or sign up at the blog, you will get a notice probably 4 or 5 hours before we're coming on, because that's when we figure it out.
If we're in the beta phase, why is an alpha like Spike here? I don't understand. It makes no sense.
I'm trying to figure out what's behind Ed. Is that an astronaut? What is that? What is behind you on the wall?
Well, it's
It looks like a
presidential seal.
science project.
It's a what?
It's the presidential seal.
Okay.
From a shoot.
Okay.
And then it's just an
From the
IKEA
Bush
lamp
thing, yeah.
that has,
Oh,
just an
okay.
IKEA lamp that's orange. That's all.
Joe
Looks
is
like
going
a
to join us
cosmonaut.
again soon, by the way. Someone's asking where Joe is because he's very busy with his school right now. He's probably in the final week, right? Are they out?
No, I think they're out. The winter break, they're out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I should have sent him an invite. Okay, we're gonna cut now to very special guests that are joining this show from Argentina. Can you guess who that might be?
It's our World Cup reporter, right?
That's right. Here we go.
Yeah.
Ready? Pedro and Luciana. Welcome to our Christmas spectacular. Argentina. Okay.
I didn't watch, but I heard it was a messy win. Is that true?
Yes, very messy.
Oh, it was awesome.
Wow.
We're celebrating. We haven't stopped since we won the World Cup. It's been days, just partying every single minute.
When I saw that, Pedro, first off, I kept getting texts about it, even though I don't watch soccer, but I know I know clearly it's the biggest sport in the world, by far. And I know how much Argentina means for you. So I just started rooting for Argentina just because of Pedro and Luciana. And then when I heard they won, I said, oh, these guys got to be jumping up and down. They got, they're out in Tequila. And then I heard you were in Argentina. And I saw this throng on TV that looked like, it looked like people might get squashed to death. And,
It looked like Putin was handing out toilet paper. That's how big the crowd was.
yeah.
Okay, it was. I mean, everybody in the country was in the government square.
So were you in that, or where were you, and how thrilling was this for you?
Well, I mean, in our case, it happened at noon. The game was at noon. And then we live in Santa Fe, which is a small city. It's not the capital of the country. But yet, after we won, we went to celebrate on the streets. And you're talking about thousands and thousands of people just parading, screaming, drinking a lot, and having fun until the next day.
And everybody went like, no, don't go there. It's very dangerous. People are going to rob you. They're going to kill you. And we were like, well, we'll die happy then. We're going.
But you pointed out something else, though, when we talked the other day about this win. You said, one of you, I think it was Luciana, said, for the first time, people are not divided in our country.
Yes, it felt really nice that it was like nobody was for or against Argentina winning or losing. Everyone was for us winning.
Well,
So
one
it
thing
was
you got
nice.
to understand about soccer, that's what makes it the most beautiful sport in the world. There's no social classes. I mean, it mingles with the richest people on earth, with the poorest people on earth. In our country, you can see that every single day. And now with this celebration, the richest people were there on the streets with the poorest people, and everybody was just hugging each other, even sharing drinks on the street. It was awesome.
What he's trying to say,
we
Bob,
shared
is
a lot of
soccer is a
COVID.
uniter.
Soccer's a uniter,
It is.
says yes, Mr. Bush. Ed, go ahead. You got some questions for you. Have you met Pedro and Luciana years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had fun in a hotel room, and that's not what I mean.
We were
Everybody was in
celebrating
the
our
hotel room.
biggest stuff. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So were you watching at a bar or on a big screen or at home on your watch? How were you watching the
Well,
game?
one thing that happened in Argentina.
Soccer is best enjoyed on a screen this big. Yeah. That's how I watch all the new Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
He's watching on his phone.
In Argentina is that when you watch a game and you win, the first time you win, you had to keep the same tradition. So I watched the first game that we won. I watched it alone. So I had to watch it alone, and I sent Luciana to somebody else's home because she couldn't see it. She couldn't see the game with me. I had to watch it by myself. And that's what I
Superstitious.
just
He
watched.
sent
very
me anywhere. I
superstitious.
didn't want to be near him.
Yeah, we're very superstitious. I'm gonna say this. Okay, this is a true story. It happened here in Argentina. A guy, we won the American Cup 2 years ago. This guy was staying with this woman. They watched the game together at home. We won the championship at that time, 2 years ago. Then they broke up because she cheated on him. The guy watched the first game alone of this World Cup, and we lost. He called this woman and said, "Please, I don't care if you cheated on me. We got to start watching the World Cup together." They hated each other, but they sat and watched every single game until we won the championship.
Wow.
It's a true story.
Wow. Will they
That's
get
a
back
beaut-
together, or will they be hating each other again by Monday?
They will hate each other. Hey, she cheated on him. You cannot respect that.
Well, the beauty is she bought her new boyfriend, and they could both watch the game at the same time, if you know what I mean, Bob. Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't.
Yeah.
Talk about between the uprights.
Yeah.
Spike is truly in the Christmas spirit, isn't he? He's just
I
always,
am.
yeah.
It's the Santa Claus look.
So, what does this mean? Because I heard various, and you got to tell me some of the specifics, because I'm no expert. But I heard someone was being called potentially the greatest of all time in soccer, one of the Argentinian players. Who would that be?
It is. He is the greatest of all time. I always thought he was the greatest of all time. But the only thing that he didn't accomplish at that time was the World Cup. He won everything in the world except the World Cup. So people would say always, he's a great soccer player, but he didn't win the World Cup.
Yeah,
Now,
and what's his name? What's his name?
His name is
Tom Brady?
Lionel
Is it
Messi.
Tom Brady? Is that his name? That would make it convenient for me.
No, Lionel is not a cheater. He's not a cheater.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to do any special tricks.
Sure.
Like the ball.
Yeah.
Well, his name is Messi, but that's how you pronounce it in Argentina. In America, it's pronounced Pele, right? If I'm not mistaken, in America, it's pronounced Pele.
Well,
No,
maybe-
I'm kidding.
hold on a
I'm
second.
kidding, buddy. I'm
No,
kidding.
maybe
I'm
it's
kidding.
true. I mean, I didn't see Pele playing because I'm not that old. Spike, maybe back in the 40s.
He could win the game with 1 foot, just 1 foot. And the field was uphill both ways. It was amazing.
He used to play
Pedro,
with
do you-
Dubs at that time.
Pedro, do you play soccer?
Oh, I used to play soccer when I was a kid. I used to play representing my school, and I used to play in a small league here in Argentina. Even when I went to the United States, I joined the league, the Bellevue League, for a couple of years. Yeah. I love soccer. It's my favorite sport.
It is. What is it about soccer that those of us who don't, we just watch our football, what is it about soccer that if we knew, we would all switch?
I want to leave this for Spike just to come up with something. Soccer is honestly, it is poetry. It is poetry. When you see it and you know the sport, it is absolutely poetry. The way they play, the way they move. And I'm not talking about tactics because that's difficult to explain, but just the idea of soccer is poetry, and it's the most beautiful sport in the world.
If I may add something, is you can entertain 22 people with just one ball, so it's the cheapest sport on earth.
Like
And as a guy with testicular cancer, I entertain 20,000 people a night with one ball. So I know what you're saying. No, but
You wish
Lucy,
you would entertain someone with one ball.
yeah.
Sure.
He served up
No,
potatoes.
Lucy nailed it. Lucy nailed it because it literally is one ball and the whole village. I mean, Bob, you remember what Luciana too? When we went to the Amazon or we went to Bangladesh or Zambia, we would take as gifts to these children and the whole villages just a soccer ball and a pump. And literally, we would go places where kids were playing soccer with a ball that was made up of like plastic trash bags. Grocery bags.
Oh, yeah.
They would tie them in a ball until it got big enough to kick around.
That was
we
their
would come
soccer
to
ball.
town-
Yeah.
We would come to town and give these wonderful people a brand new soccer ball, and the entire village was it was like Santa Claus had come to town.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's as popular as around the world, because literally everybody can play with one ball. You get the whole town come out and watch the soccer.
Listen, I'm Scottish. Thanks for the tip about the garbage bags. I'm going to buy a soccer ball for a Christmas
I'm
gift.
telling you.
Ed, you are Scottish when you say that. You mean thrifty, right? The super thrifty.
Thrifty,
Cheap.
that's it.
Yeah.
You see, we're not
Aye.
cheap, we're not
Thrifty.
tight. But we did invent copper wire fighting over a penny, two of us,
Pedro, during the entire game, it appears they're chanting something. Almost the entire game, you hear this roaring chant. What are they saying?
Well, it depends. I mean, usually Argentinians are really good, and I don't remember one, so I'm not never.
Yeah, let's sing one.
they're really good at creating songs. Like in the songs that we sing in Argentina, you can hear them in any stadium all over the world. I don't know why, but all the songs that we create here are the ones that they use for the World Cup, all the games for all the teams.
Okay. So
they were
Argentina
probably
is
singing
like if it were like Argentina invented the wave, or maybe they didn't, but were they singing "Let's Go Brandon"? That's what I thought I was hearing. I wasn't sure.
That's not fun.
Well, no, we didn't do that. No, actually.
We'll give you the English version of one of them.
Yeah.
Let's go, Argentina. Let's go. Let's win.
Okay. I don't know.
Because this crowd will never stop cheering, cheering, cheering. That's the English
So they're their
version.
own cheerleaders then.
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything, but it's 95 here, so I apologize for that singing. It's really hot in here today, so that's
All right. Let's say hi to Aaron. Let's say hi to MS Aaron, who's viewing us right now. The band is almost all together, and she says, "We love you, one ball," and we know who that means.
Uno
Good to hear from you,
huevos,
Aaron.
the legendaries. Uno huevos.
Spike was talking about songs that we did back then that we could never do now, and Aaron helped us organize this song we did called the Handicap Can. Remember the Candyman can?
I remember that one.
Yeah, and
That's not nice, man.
that's right. Sammy Davis Sr.
Bob, you are a bad boy.
You got to talking to the microphone. Yeah.
Cut that out.
Okay.
It's not
Thank you.
funny.
Okay.
You can
Let's.
take some morons, put them on the air.
All right. This is fun, isn't it? The whole video streaming thing. If you're listening to this on the audio podcast, just so you know, we've started doing it live so we could interact with listeners, and we're going to get to the point where we can bring viewers on. Right now, we're scared of each other enough without bringing any strangers. But Carly, how you doing? So fun to see and hear you all together again. Well, most of you, so much fun. Yeah, we'll invite Joe. So we're gonna move on from Argentina, and I know we interrupted your dinner, didn't we, this evening, you guys?
Like I said, we're still celebrating from Sunday. We haven't stopped a single day. Yeah.
We're gonna open another can of dinner any minute now.
Hey, Pedro, do us a favor. The rest of us age. Okay.
Age. Pedro does not
know.
age. Yeah,
I know.
I think that could be. I think that could be some hair color in there, but I don't want to. I don't want to call him out on
No,
it.
I don't do that. No.
He actually does have some gray hair.
Huh?
Believe it or not.
Where would that be, Luciana?
Oh, really?
Oh,
Oh, really? One ball? You're saying I'm crass?
hey,
Okay.
that video. We are doing video. We haven't shown anything, so that's good.
All right. So it's so many memories of you two. When you first came here, when you swam across the Rio Grande. That's actually not how you got here. When you first got
in, come on.
No, what they did is they did it totally properly and legally. They got an education visa. They were at Green River Community College. Both of you guys became interns for the show. And then you started working your way towards a green card, which was the dream at one point.
Now, that was
and
in
then
the early
after
90s?
what was the timeline?
I mean, we got here. I mean, sorry, we lived in the United States from 1999 onwards. So we started working with you 2003, I think, around that time.
Yeah.
Okay. And what I remember was a genuine. Well, first off, the fact that you guys did it right is an inspiration to everybody, and it's one thing that can be united and not divisive. I think, you guys, and you spent a lot of money doing it, by the way. Scrimped, saved. You too, Ed. No, you had to have broken some laws.
And I did not swim across the Detroit River.
But by the way, no one is swimming across the Great Lakes from Canada to get into this country. So Ed is Canadian.
You can
Good
walk
point,
across Lake Erie, though.
Yeah,
you can,
in
at
the
one
winter.
point.
Anyway, what I wanted to just point out is that I recall years where you were afraid to go home to Argentina for Christmas because you weren't sure that something might happen politically or at the border that you might not get in. Do you remember that?
Well, actually, one person, it wasn't me, the person that was next to me got detained one day at the border.
I was.
I had to wait for 5 hours without knowing whether she was going to be able to go to the United States or just to stay.
We almost lost our flight because I didn't know that I needed to stamp my passport. And we just made it all the way to Houston. And they were like, where's the stamp? We're like, what's stamp? And they helped me like for 3 hours.
Yeah. And then the other thing was like, you know, working for radio. You guys are radio people, so you know this. Whenever someone gets fired or if we got fired, we were supposed to go back to Argentina. And I remember
you work
we
for
changed
radio, huh?
companies.
Yeah.
Let me hear you say,
When
go!
Oh, I can do that with that's one of the things I love the most. And that's one of the things that I did when I was a kid and I wanted to be in radio was doing soccer broadcasting. And I was like, this is this. Toca la pelota, Ricardo Gareca. Se la pasa, I can be for 2 hours. 2 hours.
It's really authentic.
Pedro still works out, by the way, because you don't get those kind of lungs without a fitness plan.
So,
all right, love you, Pedro and Luciana, and we're going to bring on Shawn Alexander now. I don't know if you want to stay for that for a little bit.
No, we got to go back to celebrate, Bob. Oh,
yeah! Okay.
Oh, that's great,
man. Bye, Bob.
Wow.
Quite possibly the happiest Argentinians in the world,
No
Pedro and
kidding.
Luciana. Yeah.
This show has become
That is
Carousel
joyous.
of Nations for crying out
Oh,
loud.
well, look at what we're able to do with technology now. We're on live.
Phew.
I'm in Las Vegas. Zip is just outside of Boston. Spike is in Seattle. Ed Kelly is in Detroit. And now, and if our webmaster, who likes to be in the background, Dave, could set up the background for Shawn's entry, I'll tell you a little bit about Shawn Alexander.
All right.
One day, I was on a ferry to Orcas Island, and I met this guy, and we just struck up a conversation and started talking. And I just instantly liked him, and he just seemed like. I asked him what he did for a living, and he said he was a lawyer. And I thought, well, you were very friendly for a lawyer, and also you're not charging me by the minute. You just met me, and you're talking to me. There's no meter
There are
running.
no scales on your skin at all.
And
Plus,
Shawn and
the
I.
sun is up and it's directly on your skin, and you're not bursting into flame.
All
How
of
could
that.
you possibly be a lawyer?
And no offense to some other lawyers that I like, but I
Yeah.
paid you guys a lot of money, so you can take this joke. And so I got to know Shawn, and we started having coffee every weekend. And we would talk about, he would talk about the world in a way I've never heard anybody talk about the world. He's a futurist. He sees trends coming. He's a realist. If you say something that's like partisan talking point or something,
He'll call you out.
he won't. He'll say, well, some people see it this way. In other words, he's a gentleman. Again, a lawyer with all of these characteristics. And I remember he would at various times say things to me, and they would always turn out to be true. Most recently, at the beginning of the pandemic, he was the first person to use this phrase. Because we were like, are we going to have to be locked up? Are we all going to get sick? What percentage of people are dying? You know, we were following the news, and he went, this is really going to mess with supply chains. He just said, this is going to, it's going to have a ripple effect and a wave effect. It's going to affect the world for years. And and by the way, that's nothing, and we all know that now. That's common, that's common knowledge.
I did
But
not hear
he's-
Anthony Fauci say,
What I'm worried about are logistics.
Yeah. And so I bring him on as
eggs. The price of eggs. That's the problem.
I bring him on as one of the smartest, most insightful people I know, who's also a lawyer. Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring on Shawn Alexander from Orcas Island in Washington.
Thank you very much for that pleasant introduction.
Well, it was short. It could have been much longer. So Shawn, I'm waiting for our guest to call, and we're flying without a net with this podcast now. We just do it live. It goes how it goes. But I'm going to set it up a little bit with you and also further talk about your philosophy. When we put together a little website for you, we got the domain name positivelaw.com. And you had asked, is that available? And we found it. And you still have it. And
no other lawyer even thought about positive law.
Positivity.
No one was squatting on it. Yeah.
Well, Shawn will tell you a little bit more, but Shawn began helping people at this website called avvo.com. I believe it's avvo.com.
That's correct. That's Italian for lawyer.
Okay. Is that really?
Yeah. And so what they do is that allows people who just have like a short question or some generic question and they have something that's bugging them. They can type in their question and all the lawyers who are part of the service can see that question. If it's something they're interested in, they can answer that question. And sometimes the questions are very accurate and good, and sometimes they are completely crazy. And it's fun to answer them. And then after I answer them, they recently allowed me to put those on a Facebook page so that my mom can see them.
John, what the heck does consigliere mean? If as in all the mob movies, they say consigliere. Is that another word for a lawyer?
I bring that up again because it's public service. Shawn likes just helping people, and he goes to a website and helps them for free. And that's part of why we're here tonight is because I've often thought of doing a segment with Shawn and calling it Positive Law. And about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now it's been, I met this guy who had a legal question. And it was I don't know how to put it. It was someone who's off the grid because he sort of got, well, he would say it, frightened off the grid. And Shawn and I, we talked about this. And he hasn't filed a tax return in, I'll ask him how many years when he calls. He's supposed to call in 4 minutes, by the way. So we can set this up. I said, well, why don't you file? And he said, well, this thing happened to him, and I don't know how many years ago it was, but he was a bartender. And Spike, you may be able to speak to this. He always filed his taxes, but then 1 year the IRS sent him a bill because the law had changed, and they could now estimate the tips, your tips. Oh, yeah. And out of the blue, the IRS sent him a bill for $10,000.
The term is impute, and that's where they decide how much you made in tips by looking at your regular declared income. And that was a change in the law, and that caught a few people off guard.
Does it still happen?
Yeah, imputing income is something the courts use when somebody won't tell you what they're making. When they won't tell you how much they have, then a government entity or a court can impute the income. We just decide that that's what you really made, and that's what we're going to charge you. You prove otherwise.
Now, Spike, you used to be a bartender. I don't want you to say anything incriminating, so you want to just mute your mic?
It's a 3-year statute of limitations.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah. Oh, in that case, I used to tend bar for a bookie.
Oh my!
So literally, when I tended bar on Sunday night at this little neighborhood tavern, at the end of the night there would be upwards of $10,000 in the cash register. I'd be like, here's a Budweiser. The guy gave me $501, because he had a bad weekend, or seriously. And at the end of the night, literally, there was $3,000 to $7,000 to $10,000 in cash in the cash register. I was the ticket window for payouts and payoffs.
Did you have to split that with the other staff, or no?
No. It wasn't my money. No.
All right.
No, the guy that owned the bar ran book. Okay. And people would come in and say, "Hey, man, I hit the Bills and Broncos." Okay, and I'd call up I call up Guy. We'll call him Guy, which is actually his name, so it's a terrible, anonymous. But I'd say, "Hey, Tony's here. Yeah, he'd check it out. Okay, yeah, we owe him $950. He'd give me $5 for a Budweiser, and I'd give him $949 change. It was awesome. It was the coolest fucking bar in town, man.
What a life you led.
Oh,
and I had a loaded Glock 9mm sitting on the ice machine right across from the cash register, pointing at the people. So, yeah, it was, yeah, oh yeah.
All right. Things I never knew for $10, Alex. Okay. All right. I knew you were rowdy. Okay. So anyway, back to this friend. We'll call him Mark. We'll just make up this name, Mark.
He was a Mark. Good answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
An easy Mark.
So how this happened? Oh, here he's calling in now. Let's see if I can bring him on.
Nice.
All right, hang on. This is all happening live, folks.
Well,
I
yeah. So
accidentally
he's
hung up on him. Hang on. I'm
his
just gonna call him.
his question is he hasn't paid taxes for a number of years.
Well,
what's his liability?
I'll let
question.
I'll let him get on here. Mark, are you there?
Yeah.
All right, Mark. Let me turn you up.
Bring him up just a bit.
All right, you're on the podcast live. Say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody. What's happening?
Oh, I gotta turn you up a bit more.
Blur his face out, Bob, so we don't recognize him.
All right, keep talking, Mark. We'll get the volume better. Okay.
Is it okay? Getting better?
Yep, it's perfect now. All right. So, Mark, I gave people a little advance. Basically, how many years ago did they change the law that made you freak out about the taxes and the whole thing?
Oh, I don't know, like 15.
A long time. Okay.
Since yeah.
That would be 15 from now. I can't do that math. It's too much carrying the one.
07.
07. Okay. And so after that, and you don't mind if I tell a little bit of the background, right?
No, you tell it all, man.
Okay.
Bob, he sounds all like your oldest son. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Hey, man, I ain't got nothing to hide. I like to get square with those folks, though, but they haunted me, man.
Yeah. So here's what happened. So I just noticed that when we worked together, I would pay Mark in cash, and I would ask him if I could write him a check, and there's no bank account, and he's off the economic grid. And so when I asked about it, and he said this, he told me that, Mark, you said you'd like to get back to where you once belonged.
Hey, you know what? Hey, I've been to this fucking I've been to this check cashing place 1,300 times, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
All right.
They get a little taste every time, right?
Oh, yeah, big time.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking, man. That's $1,300 $5 bills. They're getting you for at least $5 every time you cash a check there.
All right. Well, let's let Shawn talk to you and ask a couple of questions and tell you maybe what could possibly be some good news. Go ahead, Shawn.
Okay. Mark, it's nice to meet you.
Almost.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad to help. So if you, when it comes to problems with the IRS, you're not the first person, believe me, that has had problems like this. Any type of this problem, there's been lots of them. So we need to look at
a lot of people have tax problems. I mean, a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has tax problems. Yeah.
And so they have a whole system to take care of that, to get you back on track. And part of it is it's an offer. And you tell them, look, I know I've got a problem way back here. Can we just settle that all in one style? Just one way. Let's just get a deal here. Something you can afford. Because if you can't pay them, it doesn't do any good for them to keep adding tax on because you can't pay them. But if they make a deal where you and they come to an agreement, something you can afford, they will clean your record. And it's called an offer in compromise. And it means to compromise the amount of debt that they would like to see, but we're going to compromise it down to what you actually can afford. And then that gets you back on track. And then after that, you can get a job where they deduct a little bit of your money for taxes and they pay your taxes regularly, just like everybody else. That at first is a little daunting. But when you look at the overall picture, you get back into the Social Security system, you start adding income earnings onto that so that when that time comes, when you get older, I have no clue how old you are, but if you're my age and you got plenty of gray hair, then you start thinking about Social Security. What's going to happen to me there?
I know I've been putting into Social Security all my whole life, dude. Like they still take money out of my check for Social Security.
Yeah. By the way, there's one of the reasons I love Shawn, obviously, is his compassion and heart. One of the reasons I love this guy, Mark, is there's not a dishonest bone in his body. He works for all kinds of people and they take out the tax money and he pays the taxes. He just hasn't filed. So, Shawn, does that change things a little?
Well, it actually changes things in your favor. because you get
I
to
worked for 5 years for this company, and they took taxes out just the last 5 years. I've worked in these casinos all my life. They've taken Social Security my whole life.
That's right. So you will want to go to the Social Security website and check your earnings and make sure that's all been reported.
I got one of them letters in the mail before. Like
good.
They come like once in a while. It says, But I ain't never get no stimulus package shit, no COVID shit or nothing.
You didn't get any of that stuff, that good stuff.
Yeah, man, I feel like I got jacked on that.
Yeah,
everyone else got it.
Here's the problem.
Tax jack.
There's a system in place to take that money away from you, right? The system is in place.
I'm gonna be honest with you. You know what? That IRS lady called me about 15 years ago, and I had her on the phone, and I told her, hold on, and I said, hey, I'm allowed to be back here. You can call the police if you want. I pretended I was talking to somebody. And that IRS lady was listening. And I got back on the phone and told her, honey, I live on my mom's back porch. I'm an alcoholic. What you guys could put me in some camp somewhere, give me some education. Maybe, I'd like to square up with you. And that's the last I heard of him. And that's the
She didn't
last
call
I
him
heard
back.
of him.
Yeah.
That's
That
brilliant.
was
If
like
I
15
ever have a
years
problem,
ago.
I'm going to
She
answer
must
his
have put
Gomer
a special
file.
mark under my name or something.
Yeah.
Hey, she must have put a mark under my name, dude. They've never garnished my check. I had jobs for 5-6 years. They never garnished my shit.
They don't have to garnish your check because the employers take the money out ahead of time, right? That money you should be getting
employer
back.
would tell me if I know, dude. I've been getting jacked. I used to get mine. I'm single and married, bro. I've been getting money every year all my whole life until this shit all jacked me up.
Yeah.
Well, and I understand that, and I'm trying to help you get back onto that track.
All right, let's focus. So, what's the first thing that? By the way, I'll help them with the login on Social Security to create the website so you can see. What's the first thing that Mark should do, Shawn?
Mark should make an appointment with a tax advisor.
Okay.
And to prepare an offer and compromise.
Okay.
And that would forgive any past debt, and then that would help him to get on track now. So that because when the employers take that money out, all you have to do is file a return, and you'll get your share back. That's a
I ain't got no return for years, man.
But it's on you to do that.
They still have a
Shawn?
record of all the taxes you've paid. Yeah, Spike, go ahead.
So, Shawn, if Mark is owed a refund for years, certain years of these last 15, right? He's paid in so much to the system. His income has been to a certain level. Does that make interest as well? The way when we owe the IRS, they add interest to it.
No.
Yeah. They don't add interest to it.
Let's ask Tony Soprano how that works. Tony, how does that work?
Let me tell you something about compound interest. Because if you don't pay your taxes, they compound on your door and they ask for the money.
Yeah. Yeah. If you ain't interested in paying, it will compound my foot up your ass. Yeah.
So
Okay.
what happens is there's a statute of limitation against you for how long. So the money that you paid in years ago, you're not going to get that back.
Okay.
But you will get you can go back and file returns for past years with your W-2s from those other employers, and you probably will get a refund.
So any tax attorney, even a basic one, will they want a little money up front, or will they be willing to do this for a percentage of his refund, or how's that going to work? Probably
Depends on the attorney.
No.
Well, no, I had a guy try to recruit me to work for his firm.
Some fools want money, man. I tried calling them money. You owe the IRS. I called them up. They want $2,000.
Okay.
Well, and
I
not
figure,
all
fuck,
of them
if the
were.
IRS sees I paid them $2,000, they probably might think I got money. I'll be like, hell no.
All right. So you don't want to call one of those people. That's the Better Call Saul model, where they spend a lot of money on advertising, right? You don't want that. So you want to just go to a small office and find someone and ask them to help you, right?
And just all he needs is an offer and compromise. Take as much paperwork as you got with W-2s and not 1099s and all that, and they will help.
I ain't got none, dude.
Well,
they will help you.
But it does exist, and you can request it from the IRS because believe me, they keep records. And so,
will they take a small or minimal payment and then just pay them over time?
Well, yes, they do that in circumstances. It depends on how much.
Okay.
Well, I had one where, well, there's someone says that IRS is paying interest, but that's not inside my experience that they pay interest. But
See how Shawn disagrees with you? He doesn't say you're wrong. He says, that's not inside my experience. That's a total perfect example. Yeah.
When you don't pay, they're interested in you.
All right, go ahead, Shawn.
Well, so what happens is they look at the amount of money that you would have gotten back as a return. That may be part of your down payment because you haven't paid in all these years.
Yeah.
But money's been taken out of your checks. That
yes,
may
Ed
be
Kelly, go ahead.
payment.
If he, for example, hits 65 and hasn't paid, would they just what do they call garnishee his social security check?
If he has been, he hasn't gotten the contact, and that's what they get a notice of intent to levy, and that says that 30 days from now, if you don't take care of this bill, we're going to come after something else that you have, and it may be social security check or your property or your bank account.
Your house, your car, everything, right?
Yeah.
And they,
I ain't got none of that, so they can keep on digging. I ain't got shit.
You're looking at it wrong, Mark.
By the way,
got your money you want back.
In another time, you and Spike would be total brothers, wouldn't you, Spike?
I'm having him on the show this week, man. He's my new sidekick. I love this guy.
Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, man, Mark's been flying under the radar for 15 years, right? Are we sure we want to throw rocks at the IRS hornet nest? It's like,
hey, you know what, dude? You know what I was thinking? Hey, what if I just call myself fucking Jorge and pretend like I'm a fucking junkie over the border?
Come on now. Come on.
All right.
Hey, moving right along.
Fuck, they're probably getting better shit than I am.
All right.
They're getting more shit than me, probably.
All right, Mark, you do get the whole idea of being outrageous as an entertainer. This is great. So,
No,
all right.
I'm just saying, dude. Fuck, you might want to think about it.
Absolutely.
What do you think about running an alias, man? Fuck.
Give me his number. I need a whackbacker.
You're
All right.
already running an alias.
I'm down, really, because I ain't got nothing to lose, bro.
No, actually.
Yeah, but we do. We have the show.
Actually,
my mom's gonna when my mom passes, the house is going to come to me. That's when they're going to try to get my shit.
Yeah, it's going to be back. So here's the thing, Mark, but let's stay focused. The thing is, there's a program where you can essentially offer to reconcile, and the IRS is prone to accept it. Because they're not.
Yeah, he said you got to go to a tax attorney and have him do that. You know what he said? That
offering compromise.
Offering compromise. Yes.
I want to make one quick point for Mark, though. It's in all seriousness, right? You said if your mom passes, she'll leave you her house, right?
Yeah, it's already in the deed upon death.
You want to get in the settled before that happens.
Absolutely.
Because right now you don't have.
That's why I was talking to Bob. Like, hell yeah, I need to square up.
Yeah.
You don't have much right now. They'll take a small settlement for you because you don't have much. But when that house lands in your back pocket, when that house gets there, they're going to want a lot more from you to settle up. So seriously, man, get this done, brother.
Can I do an offer and compromise? Can I send them a letter and ask them for my shit like every year that they got on file?
Yes. You can request your transcripts. You can request that
by yourself.
You can do it by yourself. Bob will email me. Stuff and
we'll do some of the paperwork afterwards. I think we've covered the entertainment portion of the program really well. Because look, here's the thing, Mark, you're a good guy. You basically work. This guy works his butt off, and if you need him in an emergency, he's right there. His clients love him. But for ever since that shocking IRS bill, he basically has felt that he's too far underwater. And Spike, you know what it feels like to be underwater.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely,
he's too far underwater to even have a chance to square it, and there's nobody telling him the best way to even get started. And so this offer and compromise. We'll follow up with you, Mark, and we're going to make sure this gets done.
Yeah, that'd be cool, man. I need to square up with them fools. I know they're going to be hunting me down.
All right, don't call them fools in the offer of compromise.
They can incarcerate.
Yeah, they can. But seriously,
That's fine, dude. I'll go to a federal camp. I'll probably get an education while I'm there.
3 squares and a cot.
Fucking fed camp, dude. I get to see a dentist and a real eye doctor. I've never been to an eye doctor in my life, okay?
Yep.
They take care
of one hand over the eye on the fucking chalkboard in school. That's all I've been.
I look good in orange. I'll get an eye exam. This is really
Fuck, dude, I get my teeth going on.
By the way, you remind me of Spike, and he knows exactly what I mean.
I remember the day he came into Shawshank. All of his W-2s stapled to his
Fish.
Yeah, Mark, it's all it's all doable.
All right.
We're gonna it's all gonna be handleable. Let me put you on hold, my friend.
The warden knew he was keeping 2 sets of books.
All right, all right. I'm putting you on hold. We'll get back to you afterwards. Okay.
Nobody ever looks at a man's shoes. They only look at his tax returns.
The IRS says you make a one-time gift to your spouse. Don't kill me.
So I'm thinking, this guy's fun. He's hilarious. Seriously, he just says, I wish I could get it together. And
tell him not to step into the prison yard, Bob.
Well, the thing is, I think that Mark will be much better off at the end of the day, where they will say, okay, well, we'll just keep all that money we took from you, and we'll start cleaner. And
it'll be great.
Yeah. And after that, when the employers take the tax, then you'll get a refund check every year.
All right. My wife just brought me this meal, by the way.
Damn.
Good job.
She's like made it, and it doesn't matter that I'm in a podcast, and it's actually the most wonderful thing.
Never buy a muff from Bob secondhand.
All right, Shawn. Before we go, I do want to get a little more of your thoughts because I missed them. We are through the pandemic, which you said would disrupt supply chains and cause waves of economic disruption that would last for years.
Yeah.
We are now at the point where, because of, and I'm very bipartisan on this, I'm a radical centrist. I believe because of $8 trillion worth of spending during the Trump administration and another $5, which I think was probably pretty unnecessary during the Biden administration, but there's a lot of social injustices that are trying to be balanced out when the different parties are in power. But I think because of all of that, we have what potentially is rapidly escalating inflation. No matter what you read today, look at what you read 6 months ago, and today's probably no more accurate than 6 months ago was. A huge economic collapse coming next year. Inflation, will it get back to 10, 12, 13, 15% mortgages like it did in the late 70s, early 80s? Or are the supply chain disruptions about to level out and everybody to make money next year, and by 2024 everything's good? I'm going to ask Shawn that question because I know he thinks about it.
My thinking would be that we're going to run into a bit of a stagflation, where we're not going to really grow, but we're going to have some inflation, but we're not going to get back to where we were in the 70s, to that 20%.
Not none of those huge, crazy mortgages. Yeah, okay.
No, but I'm seeing differences in some of the mortgages that are coming through. They're big numbers, but they're longer terms. People are going, before 30 was I'm seeing 40-year mortgages.
Wow.
And, so people are pushing things out longer, hoping that they're going to live longer.
People are living longer, so why not strap them into debt for longer?
Well, nobody lives out their mortgage anymore anyway, so you might as well make it a 100-year mortgage, Shit.
I like the way he thinks. Very, very high mortgages, yes.
Well, Bob, my family was involved in banking. And I
they owned a bank, by the way. This is another Shawnism, by the way. My family was involved in banking. We owned banks. Sure.
Yeah. Well, and so I can see the interest side from the bank side. And when it's really high, that means the money they're getting from the Fed is high. And they have to pass that along because they got to make a profit and they got to please those shareholders because those shareholders can be demanding. So you're going to see a squeeze on a lot of the financial markets. You're already seeing it in the car loan market. The prices, the average payments of car loans are way up, and that's a tough thing when that's your car. That depreciates. Hopefully your house appreciates, so you're making those payments. You could feel a little bit better about it.
It might be a while for that, yeah. And the car,
kids could be scratching your paint right now. right out in the parking lot, and you have to make those payments anyway. So what I saw at the beginning of the pandemic is kind of like with customer service, when we talked about when you had an experience in a Home Depot or a Lowe's or any kind of a store before the pandemic, you barely got help. After the pandemic, it took a huge downturn. So I look at this, okay, we're going to have our workforce, a big section of it taken out of the picture. We couldn't serve the people before the pandemic. Afterwards, it's going to be totally screwed up. And I recognize this because I live at the end of a supply chain. I live on an island where everything has to come by ferry to me. And it takes a lot more. So I saw that coming because I'm used to that.
Right.
Shawn Alexander. By the way, just a quick note. Someone said what happened to Mark happened to me in the mid-'90s. Fortunately, I had all my records. I challenged it. It took them a year to pay me. Turns out they owed me. So Mark might have been, when that happened, he should have challenged it. Not that we can go back.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what I think now, that between the amount he hasn't taken it back by filing a return, that may be his down payment. Who knows?
This is Jenny. She says, I expected Shawn to look different.
It looks like a philosopher.
Yeah. Well, some days I look different.
Yeah. I don't know what that means.
We all used to, yeah.
All right. Shawn, thank you so much. Spike.
My pleasure.
You got to go to work soon too, right?
I do got to get going too soon. So, yeah.
How is it all going?
It's fantastic here. I got to tell you, Cairo is a great company to work for. I can't believe I get to do this again and get to make fun with people and of people. Last night it was funny. I had the Trump tax return were being released, and Trump was recommended for criminal indictment on 4 different felony charges, and I didn't want to even talk about it. We were talking about anything else. We talked about, you name it, we talked about last night. Finally, like 9:30, I'm like, well, I've been sitting on this story all night. I got to at least talk about it a little bit. Isn't it kind of odd that we got a former president who's blah, 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 blah. I just laid out all the details. All of a sudden, the text line, you libtard, blah, blah, one-sided, Joe Biden's a criminal. Hunter Biden's laptop. Hunter Biden was screwing the Twitter bird and snorting cocaine. And you guys don't even care about that. Ukraine this. And I'm like, oh, my God. You people drive me nuts. I'm like, I don't even.
Sending you an early gift. My game.
Yep.
I'm not gonna wrap it. I'm just gonna send it in brown paper bag.
Yeah. You read the rule book on that on the Trump game. Rule 1: take all the money. Rule 2: flip the board over and declare victory. You've played Trump.
Why? Hey, did Dory call you, by the way?
No. When he texted me.
Okay, he asked me for your number.
Yeah, he texted me.
I think the coolest thing would be for you two to be friends.
I texted him back. We've been texting back and forth.
Good.
Last week, a really dear friend of mine who is a local sheriff, he was in court for a misdemeanor. It's a very long story, deep political
Ed Troyer,
story.
and we talk about it on this podcast. So, and a lot of our audiences in the Northwest. Ed Troyer is a great sheriff who basically was driving in the middle of the night.
So what happened was Ed lives in the neighborhood. Ed lives in a neighborhood, and about 2:33 in the morning, he saw a car going from driveway to driveway to driveway, and he got he left his house in his own unmarked vehicle without out of uniform, and started following this car from driveway to driveway, and blocked this car in a driveway, and asked, "What do you got? What are you doing here?" And the guy said, "What are you following me for?" And it escalated quickly. Next, Ed goes and calls the department and says, some guy just threatened to kill me. And like the entire Pierce County Police Department shows up. So long story short, this guy was a newspaper man or a delivery guy.
Who happened to be African-American.
Right. And this was in January of 21, in the height of the Black Lives Matter protests and the George Floyd backlash. So this guy made charges of it about being racially driven, and the state's attorney general brought Ed up on 2 misdemeanor charges of filing a false report because he called in and said this guy threatened to kill me. Anyway, they had a trial and he was completely acquitted of both charges. But people are still, just so against Ed because it was a race. It became a race issue.
It was a divider issue, and the claim was made. I had to take a few bites of my wife's sandwich, otherwise I feel like I'm dissing her.
That's all right. You got it.
The claim was made that the Democratic prosecutor, Attorney General, was basically trying to win points with the black vote for the election.
Yeah, because he'll run for governor soon.
Right. And so
that's an assertion.
And that's what the prosecutor. It could be. I mean,
well, to be
you
fair,
you being a libtard, I wouldn't expect you to make that point. But
well, I would point out that the Attorney General didn't bring charges against 3 different Democrats who deleted text from their phones, destroying public records, which are felonies, and decided to not bring charges up to them, but brought up misdemeanor charges for filing a false report against the Pierce County Sheriff. So it does seem to have a political tinge to it.
By the way,
the point
political talking points. Bet you can't eat just one.
I know. No, but what I want to say is this: after that trial, we were scheduled to play a concert Saturday night. We played a benefit concert for a toy drive.
Oh, for a toy drive.
Ed Troyer's event. We've been doing it for years now, and we were worried about how it was going to go because this case is it's top of the news story every channel all week long. And when the not guilty verdict came out, that party turned out to be a phenomenal celebration. A vindication for him, and a great guy, and we raised a ton of money and collected a lot of toys.
Quick question:
wonderful night.
If liberals are libtards, are conservatives contards?
Morons.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen,
or fascist Nazis. I'm not sure which one.
Sure.
Okay. I don't know. Yeah.
Well,
I'm not
it's
up on the vernacular.
too bad they're being so divisive, is what I have to say.
Well,
anyway, I want you and Dory to become best chums because he's one of my favorite human beings. And politically, I don't agree with either of you. Actually, I'm completely
clueless.
Well, I'm a radical. I'm a dangerous radical centrist. Yes. I believe that compromise and working together and not, fighting with each other is actually the answer. No matter what your philosophy is, I believe you've got to get along.
Virtue signaling.
Are you okay?
I had a mild stroke when you said all that, so sorry. I'm going to be fine.
I'm going to let you go to work, Spike.
Yes, Spike. All right, guys. Hey,
have
listen,
fun.
everybody. Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah,
sure.
All the things that make your heart fill. I appreciate you guys. It's been a wonderful year, in spite of the world burning to the ashes around us. It really has been a great year, and we're all together, and we're healthy, and my dear friend is healthy, and that's all I wanted for Christmas was to be able to do this. So
have a blue Kwanzaa without you. I'll be so blue, Spike, thinking about you.
Remember we want to do 8 days of gifts?
Yeah. All right. Cheers, Spike. Have fun. Go to work.
Thanks.
Right. I don't want him to be late on our account. What are you doing that podcast for?
Really? Give us the 8:05 break. What's going on?
Don't miss Spike, though. He is literally one of the funniest people on the planet I've ever met. Although I think Mark's pretty funny, too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mark doesn't actually talk like that. But he was like, "Oh, we're on the, we're broadcasting now," and he was flamethrowing. I agreed with everything he said too. Yeah.
Next time I get a call from the IRS, I'm just gonna act dumb as I can be. Hello.
You're gonna be Jim. You're gonna be Gomer. Yeah.
What's a deduction? Isn't that something you think about and you come to a conclusion? I owe you money. Well, golly. If I don't pay it up, I have to go where? Jail.
Oh, man.
All right. Shall we semi-wrap it up? I do want to say one thing before we go, just to let you know, if those of you that pray for people, I have surgery next Wednesday. And it's supposed to be a no big deal surgery. So it's a hernia.
It's unrelated
I've
to
had 5 of those.
It's not the big C. This is what's called an incisional hernia. It's basically part of where my operation was. Let's put it this way. If you've seen the movie Alien with Sigourney Weaver, and you saw one of those guys who was about to give birth. Lisa, I'm telling people I've got this hernia surgery. Lisa's like, no, it's a C-section.
kind of is. It is.
Oh, it's crazy.
In its
So,
own way.
but I found an incredibly wonderful surgeon who, and they're going to do part of it laparoscopically, and he's very aware of my individual condition. But it means I'm going back in for surgery on Wednesday. This has been, and if I can get all hospitalizations out of the way in 2022, this is the kiss of death, though.
Why?
How could any year possibly be worse?
Yeah, there's that. With no place to go.
Remember before the pandemic, we were like, thank goodness 2019 is gone. Let's start a fresh year.
Yes. Let's.
All right. Thank you, Lori Krasnowski. I appreciate it. Look at this. Nice work. Nice words. Spike needs better earbuds. Yes. We're working on his. Yeah. This whole transition to streaming has been an interesting piece of work. By the way, I will at this point say, if you'd like to help us out in putting all this together, you can go to bobrivers.com/Patreon. And if you want to sign on as a Patreon supporter, right now you don't get much for that, except...
Yes, you do.
And Kelly, tell them what they win.
Yeah. You get that warm feeling you got when you peed in your pants in kindergarten and the police teacher was really nice to you and let you go home early. But Ed will do an answering machine break. Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Pee-Pee Pants can't answer the phone right now. He's in the warden's office being spanked, and he likes it.
We're actually working on some extra special perks with our webmaster to create a whole new, I don't know what it is, but a nice thing for people who sign up for Patreon and become, instead of just supporters, I think, what's the right word? Fan club, gullible. Hey, we could have raised 120 million if we said, help us build a wall, right? I mean,
yeah. We
Yes,
said answering machine, a cell phone message
Yeah.
is what we mean. Yeah. We'll send you an MP3. How's that?
yeah, you could. Oh, but that's a very good question. How do you put a message on your cell phone that they send you in an MP3? Is that
Yes.
Google
you
it?
Just you go into your iPhone, you start recording your message, and you hit play on your computer and hold it up to the speaker.
Oh, okay. So there isn't like a way to take the file. You have to actually transfer it via a speaker.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's beyond me. Ask your webmaster. I mean,
Yes, there is a way, but I shan't reveal it.
Dave doesn't want to come on, by the way. I've invited him to be on the show, and so far he says no. I don't think he thinks the show is good enough yet.
probably right.
Could be that. Someone says producers. Yes, we need producers. We definitely need a whole lighting crew, makeup crew for Zip, and we're getting there. It's a lot of fun. And as we get into the new year, we'll be bringing some new features. And if you sign up for our mailing list, starting with the very next one, no trading cards for $99. Yeah.
Yes, really. An NFT. That's what we're going to do.
If you sign up for our mailing list at bobrivers.com, you will get notified every time we're going to do a live stream. And of course, our streams are always going to still be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play, and wherever else podcasts are not sold but given away for free.
Walgreens and Rite Aid.
Yeah, that's right.
My stream is not as strong as it used to be. Flowmax.
All right.
That's the answer.
On the podcast, we also add twisted tunes on the end. So if you see it live, but you want to hear the twisted tunes, go check out the podcast. Are we ready to say sayonara?
We are, and Merry Christmas, and God love everybody, man.
Things could only get better.
The Bob and Zip Show.